life can feel unbearably heavy at times. Loss, whether of a loved one, a relationship, or even a dream, has a way of shaking us to our core. It's as though the ground beneath us gives way, and we find ourselves standing in an emotional void, unsure of how to rebuild, how to move forward, or if we even can. Have you ever found yourself in that place? Feeling like everything you once knew has been stripped away, and you're left with only the weight of grief? It's an all too familiar struggle, one that many of us face at some point in our lives. But here's something you might not realize. Even in the deepest pain, there is strength waiting to be found. The question isn't about whether we can avoid pain, but how we choose to respond to it. And that's where Stoicism has a lot to offer. In moments of loss, the Stoics teach us that it's not the loss itself that defines us, but how we choose to rebuild from it. The wisdom they impart reminds us that we have the power to shape our reactions, to find strength in the face of suffering, and to rebuild a life that reflects who we truly are, not just the pain we've endured. In this episode, we'll explore 10 lessons for finding strength after loss, practical, Stoic-inspired insights that can guide you through the healing process. These are lessons not just for surviving grief, but for using it as a catalyst to rebuild your life with even greater purpose and resilience. But before we dive into the lessons, let me share a story that might feel all too familiar, but one that carries an important lesson. There was a man named Jack who had always been the pillar of strength for his family. He worked hard, provided for his loved ones, and always seemed to have everything under control. But when his wife Mary passed away suddenly, Jack was lost. His foundation seemed to crumble beneath him, and he found himself adrift in a sea of sorrow. For weeks, he barely left the house. The weight of the loss made him question if he would ever feel whole again. One day, as Jack was sorting through Mary's belongings, he found a small note she had written for him years ago. On it, she had written, "When life gets heavy, remember that you have the strength to carry what matters. Keep moving forward, and I'll always be with you." That note, though simple, became Jack's turning point. It reminded him that while grief would always be a part of him, it didn't have to consume him. He could carry the love and the memories without allowing the sorrow to weigh him down. It was then that Jack decided to rebuild not just his life, but his purpose. He began taking small steps forward, finding new ways to live with intention and resilience. The lesson: even in the darkest moments, we have the power to rebuild. It doesn't happen all at once, and it's not always easy, but it starts with the decision to move forward, to embrace what we can control, and to use our pain as a source of strength. So, if you're facing loss, or if you're simply looking for a way to rebuild after hardship, this episode is for you. Let's dive into the lessons that can help guide you through the toughest of times and remind you that strength can emerge from even the deepest pain. 1. Accept what you cannot change. Have you ever tried to change something only to realize that no matter how hard you tried, it simply wasn't within your control? Whether it's the end of a relationship, the death of a loved one, or a loss of a dream, we all encounter moments when life takes us down a path we didn't choose. It's in these moments that the struggle often begins, not because we don't want to heal, but because we refuse to accept that which we cannot change. In the face of loss, the first instinct is often to fight it. We want to change the past, bring back what's gone, or control the future in an attempt to avoid further pain. But this fight, this resistance, only causes more suffering. The Stoics understood this truth more than 2,000 years ago. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the moment we accept what we cannot change, we stop fighting and start moving forward. Acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning ourselves to misery. It's about acknowledging reality as it is, without denial or resistance. When we resist, we stay stuck, bound to the past, or to a future that may never come. Acceptance allows us to let go of the what-ifs and the whys and focus on what is within our control, how we choose to respond. This is the foundation of healing. Think about the pain you might be carrying. Is there something in your life that you're still fighting to change, even though you know it's beyond your control? Maybe it's a difficult breakup, the loss of a job, or the death of a loved one. The Stoic approach is simple. Accept the situation for what it is, and then ask yourself, what can I control? The truth is, we can't control other people, we can't control the past, and we certainly can't change the fact that loss is a part of life, but we can control how we respond to it. We can choose to move forward, to honor the memory of what we've lost, and to build a new path. By accepting what we cannot change, we free ourselves from the weight of resistance and give ourselves the opportunity to heal. It's important to understand that acceptance is not weakness. It's not about letting life happen to you. It's about acknowledging the truth of your situation and deciding how you will face it. For example, after losing his wife, Jack didn't let his grief define him. He accepted her death, understood that it was beyond his control, and shifted his focus to how he could live with that loss. This doesn't mean forgetting, but it does mean not letting the past dictate your future. The process of acceptance takes time, and it's normal to struggle with it. But the first step is the most important: to stop resisting what is. Only then can we begin to focus on what we can change and rebuild the strength to move forward.